What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Kennedy Sports Guys Podcast, and welcome to another edition of Bench Talk. My guest today is former San Diego Charger linebacker Shawne Merriman. Merriman had an 8-year NFL career, 6 with the then-known San Diego Chargers, and 2 years with the Buffalo Bills, playing in 75 games with 196 tackles and 45.5 sacks. He is a 3-time Pro Bowler, 2005 NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, and is a member of the San Diego Chargers' 50th anniversary team. After a year of being dormant, his MMA promotion, Lights Out Xtreme Fighting, will hold an event on January 14th, 2023 at the Riverside Municipal Auditorium in Riverside, California. Please welcome to the show, Shawne Merriman. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Shawne.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on.
So my first question I have for you is, you had an 8-year NFL career where you earned the nickname Lights Out. How did that nickname came about?
My sophomore year in high school, I knocked out four kids in one game. And after that game, people start running up to me saying, you knocked those guys lights out. And I said, oh, you're cool. Called me Lights Out. And I didn't know that name was gonna stick, right? I remember going to school Monday morning, and I got my book bag on, I got my books in my hand, and everybody saying, hey, good game, Lights, and start calling me Lights. I then went to go beg my mom to let me get a Lights Out tattoo on my right forearm. And that's how the origination of the Lights Out dance came about. So I'm pretending to flick the switch on and off after a big play. So that name just stuck with me all the way through high school, college, and then through the pros.
Nice, nice. So it didn't came out when you knocked out the opponent's quarterbacks out of the game, right?
It did. And, I think that, football obviously was a little bit different back then and just how we perceived. But at the time, it was applauded. It was a part of the game, and people just, they love how I played. And that's probably what I appreciate most about my career.
Nice, nice. So the next question I have for you is, during your career, you obviously played in a lot of games and a lot of classic games as well. What was one college game or NFL game that stood out to you the most?
I would say in 2006, the first game we had against the Raiders. That was Monday Night Football, were the only show in town, and I believe I had 4 or 5 sacks or something like that game, and everybody was watching. It was just I remember my phone just blowing up and getting home and watching the highlights on the sports channels. And it was great for me, man, because after having a rookie year like I had, coming back out, opening the season that way, you couldn't ask for anything better.
So there has been like a lot of other games with you as well. I think one game that actually stood out is when that same game you mentioned where facing the Raiders were they were good at the time, not right now, but I think that was the same game that I was thinking, because that was actually a really good game that you played.
Yeah, I mean, obviously playing the Raiders, right? They were a division opponent, division rivalry. Marty Schottenheimer was my coach at the time, who absolutely hated the Raiders. So then he, kind of pushed down and trickled down that hate to us for the Raiders. And so that Raider week was it was another level.
Yeah. So the next question I have for you is, what was your favorite part of being a part of the National Football League?
I would say the guys I played with, man. I look back on it now, and it takes you a little bit to kind of step back and see, like, holy crap, I played with LT and Phillip Rivers, Lorenzo Neal, Antonio Gates. I mean, just we're talking about Hall of Fame guys, and that to me is, I look back on it, was probably my best time, my best memories of playing in the NFL.
What was the worst part of being a part of the National Football League?
Probably getting sent home a couple of times by the Patriots, in the playoffs. We, outside of the Raiders, we've always had a special hate for the Patriots too, and they were just so great as a team, obviously led by Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and they just a couple of times we were the better team on paper. We had more players. They just found ways to beat us. They played very smart football, and we go back and we watch the film, and we're like, man, we lost to these guys. But they were just really good at taking advantage of our mistakes.
So let's talk about the NFL playoffs. Your beloved Chargers made it to the wild card round, and they will be facing the Jacksonville Jaguars this Saturday on NBC. Who do you have winning that game?
I got my Chargers. I'm not being biased, but they're the better team going into the game. They are. The only scary part is they go into Jacksonville, right? Jacksonville, they're playing aggressive football. They're young. They're hungry on the defense side of the ball. Trevor Lawrence, when he's playing well, he's difficult to play against. Zay Jones and all those guys that make plays on the offense side of the ball. So, getting down there, they can't start slow. I think that's the biggest concern, right? You can't start slow. I know it's a time difference. You got the flight. You have to be ready to go as soon as that game starts, because if not, this is a team that if you get late in the third and fourth quarter, they play up to their level. They get better momentum as the game go on.
Yeah, I want to agree. I think the Chargers are going to win this game. I really don't think it's Jacksonville's time. I think Justin Herbert's going to throw up over 300 yards. I think Austin Eckler is going to have a big game. And I think the defense is going to stop Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. I mean, it's no doubt about it. The Chargers are the better team. I mean, for the most part, in every position, they're better. But when you have a team like Jacksonville, who's very confident right now, they're young, they're hungry. They're one of the most difficult teams to see in the first round. But Chargers,
and they're also hot. They're a very
also
hot team.
They're also hot. They're also hot. And so, with all those things combined, you have to jump out on them early, because it'll be a long day for you if you don't.
Yeah. So, who are your Super Bowl picks?
I know you said the Chargers aren't you don't think they're going, but I want to see how they play against Jacksonville, right? Because when they show up and they play well, they're very difficult to beat. But in the AFC, it's really a toss-up, because any one of these quarterbacks, any one of these teams can win any week. You have to say KC, because they won Super Bowls. They've been there before. They're more experienced. They're the team to beat right now, so you have to give them the upper hand. But on the NFC side, you really only have two teams, in my opinion. That's Philadelphia Eagles and San Francisco 49ers that are, in my opinion, that are real contenders.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that one. I think from the AFC is going to be the Bills. And from the NFC, I would have to be the San Francisco 49ers. I really like the Niners because that defense is really, really good. And also Brock Purdy's really good as well.
Yeah, Purdy, the way he's playing right now is not he doesn't reflect his age. That's for sure. The way he's come in and taking over that team and the confidence. I don't think we've ever seen a young guy that confident and that poised when things get rough. We haven't seen that before. So, like I said, there's two, between them and Philly, they're really the only two teams that I pose as being a threat coming out of the NFC.
Also, he was Mr. Irrelevant, so he's not playing like he's Mr. Irrelevant. It's crazy.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I think they need to get rid of that word, because when you get drafted in NFL, you're good, right? It just you are. And I don't care if you get drafted in the first round or the seventh round. You're getting drafted for a reason, and there's not a lot of players to go around. So, I would, especially when you're talking about someone like him, you gotta ban that word. That's a hard word to use.
Sorry. So moving on to the NFL to MMA. Let's talk about Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. After you retired, you started your own MMA promotion. How did the idea of this promotion came out to be?
Yeah, for one, I was training MMA during the off season, but between 2005 and 2006. I just wanted to get better with my hands and hand-eye coordination, being able to use my hands as outside linebacker and pass rusher. Long story short, I ended up loving the sport. Had a great passion for it. I started to train every offseason. And like you just said, I launched Lights Out Xtreme Fighting in 2018. Now on Fubo TV, Fubo Sports. So we've extended our relationship with Fubo all of 2023 and look to keep putting on great fights and have more people to tune in.
So what would you say is the main goal of Lights Out Extreme promotions fighting?
Well, for us, we understand there's other bigger promotions and whatnot out there. The partnership with Fubo obviously gives us a chance to be seen not only nationally but internationally. This fight coming up will be shown in France, Canada, and some parts of Spain. I mean, this for our first international showing. But we just want to give these fighters an opportunity to be seen, right? To give them a
Hmm.
platform. We know there's not a lot of great promotions out there, and we want to be put up there in the upper echelons of the best to do it.
So what you're doing is actually correct because you're giving all these up and coming fighters a chance to showcase themselves in front of an international audience where they can just hone their skills and become better fighters, and just showcase them basically, which is something that I feel like is needed because there are a lot of young athletes out there that didn't have the showcase, to show off their skills, and I feel like it's a perfect opportunity, this promotion, to do that and show off their skills.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, man. It's about having an opportunity. Give these guys a platform. You got a lot of young, hungry fighters out here that's looking for an opportunity to showcase their talents and be seen, right? They want to prolong their career. They want, to get better sponsors. They want to get more opportunities to, maybe go to the next level. Hopefully, a lot of these guys stay with us as we grow. But the plan is just give them an opportunity to showcase what they can do.
Yeah. So I recently read in an interview with TNC Sports that you want to get into a cage with some WWE superstars. So if you had to choose, name three superstars that you want to get into the cage with.
Well, it's hard to name them because I don't want to name guys that aren't training, right?
Hmm.
And I don't know which ones are, but I threw that out there, not really necessarily challenging anybody, but one of our main goals is transitioning former athletes into Lights Out Extreme Fighting.
Yeah.
And if I have to lead the way by strapping it up with one of these guys from the WWE or a former athlete, then I'm definitely open to it. I think that it'll be great for the promotion. It'll be live on Fubo Sports. We'll have a
Hmm.
big event where everybody's watching. And I think it's good all the way around. I encourage every former athlete to try some kind of combat sport when they retire. Whether they take a fight or not, that's on them. But I think that having that discipline and regimen to pick back up after you get done with your respective sport will be good. Mentally, physically, kind of stay with it. You talk to any one of these former guys, they will tell you two things they miss. They miss the locker room and they miss competing. So we want to give
Hmm.
them an opportunity to get back in that arena.
And finally, the last question for this is, who will be on the card for this Saturday's event?
Yeah, we have Willie Gates, Marvin Garcia. We have a lot of guys, former UFC guys that fought there. Some of these guys are looking for opportunity to get back into the UFC. We understand that. But we have about 9 fights starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, live on Fubo TV. And, it's around the same time as the Chargers game. So I'll have a little mini TV strapped up to the cage somewhere where I can go back and forth. And I'm hoping that, the fans and the people out there do the same, right? You're watching the game, doing the breaks, pop back into the fights. And also, too, cashing into the fights because the game will be close to being over by then.
So where can people find you and Lights Out Extreme Fighting on social
Yeah.
media?
Yeah, you can follow me at Shawne Merriman on Instagram and Twitter, at Lights Out XF on Twitter and Instagram as well. But yeah, you can get your tickets to a Lights Out XF if you're in the area. But if not, check us out. We'll be live on Fubo TV starting at 6 p.m. Pacific this Saturday, January 14th.
Well, that's all the questions I have today. Thank you so much, Shawne Merriman, for the time. Check out his Lights Out Extreme Fighting this Saturday live from Riverside, California on Fubo TV. You can find this episode on candasportsguy.com and my YouTube channel, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. In addition, head on over to my social media pages on Twitter at Kenny_sports, Instagram at KennySportsGuy1, and TikTok at Kenny Sports Podcast. Until the next episode, see ya, and I hope you stay safe and healthy.